All righty then. We're going to try this again. So I did make some changes to my computer. I reset the modem. I even did a private stream to make sure everything would look good. I'm looking at it right now. It looks pretty. I'm not going to share the link this time because whenever I share the link and then suddenly somebody shows up, everything goes wrong. Almost like the 49ers game, where everyone showed up to watch the Seahawks play the 49ers in Lumen Field, and the Seahawks didn't show up, at least on offense. In this case, it was my internet connection and the bit rate and everything else. It did not go great. So, thank you for being patient and joining me for First Kick Seahawks. I would appreciate it if you liked and subscribed. It would help out the channel. I want to talk about Tell the Truth Monday. And this is typically Monday because, or if it's, the day after the game is what Tell the Truth Monday is supposed to be. So if it's a Monday Night Football game, it would be, Tuesday. And if it was a typical, series of Thursday Night Football, well, we'll just talk about it on Friday, and then we'll play on Sunday or Monday the following week. But this week in particular, the schedule is weird for the Seahawks and the Cowboys, where they have to play on Thursday Night Football, and then they play on Thursday Night Football, which I can't remember a team ever having to do that, play on Thursday Night Football back to back. So what's even more particular is that the Cowboys and the Seahawks had to play Thursday Night Football on Thanksgiving. So that makes things even more complicated because both teams, they had 4 days to prepare from Sunday to prepare for their Thursday Night Football games on Thanksgiving. And then now they have 7 days to prepare for their Thursday Night Football game, which, a normal 7 games. But typically, the whole trade-off with a Thursday Night Football game is you get a few extra days of rest on top of that because you were in crunch time the week before. And also because it was during like a holiday season, a lot of these guys didn't get a chance to see their family because of the build-up to Thanksgiving. Because they then played the Thursday after, did these guys have an opportunity to really spend time with their families over the weekend? I don't really think they did, because for them, they got Tuesday off. In the schedule is Tuesday, but that's Saturday. So I guess they got Saturday off, and then Sunday they returned to work. And then today is Thursday for them, Monday being Thursday. And it's bizarre the way that the schedule is kind of pacing. And I would hope that the NFL schedule makers would have never done this to any team. Because I'm pointing to the Cowboys too. At least we're playing against a team that is also at a disadvantage. But physically speaking and emotionally speaking, it's crunch time for both of us. Because we have to play a Sunday game, a Thursday game, a Thursday game. And normally what happens is that extra Thursday game is supposed to be an extra 3 days or 4 days out. So the human body needs rest time after experiencing basically car crashes over and over again. And so we're playing the Rams, the 49ers, and then we play the Cowboys. So we're coming in feeling exhausted and beat up because it's not a normal schedule. We're playing more game snaps in a shorter period of time than normal. And then we're not getting nearly as much rest. And so are the Cowboys. And I want to show you what I mean. So let's go to Screen share. Is this the one I want? Let's do this one. So here is the Cowboys. They played Sunday, November 19th. So this was 2 weeks ago against the Panthers, who just fired their coach, Frank Reich, who was fired from the Colts the year before and replaced with Jeff Saturday. The Panthers were the ones who drafted Bryce Young this year over like Anthony Richardson or Stroud, who is beating like all these rookie records. So yeah, I don't know how much of that has to do with Frank Reich or if he just got thrown under the bus. So yeah, that's what's going on. I just wanted to point that out. So yeah, they played them Sunday, and then 4 days later, they played the Commanders. And if you'll notice, before that, they played the Giants. Their last 3 games have been... Actually, let's go back even further. Let's go back to the last 5 games. They played the Rams, Eagles, Giants, Panthers, Commanders. And their scores have been 43 against the Rams. 43-20. They lost to the Eagles 23-28. They beat the Giants 49-17. They beat the Panthers 33-10. And they beat the Commanders 45-10. This team is a goddamn powerhouse. Okay? The team that they lost to in this span held them to 23 points and beat them 28-23, and they're the Eagles. Every other team, they're putting up 30 points, but if you take out this Panthers team, it's 40 points. So, including the Rams that just beat us. It feels like a week ago. Because it was literally a week ago. We played Sunday and then we just played Thursday. Now we're playing Thursday again. We're playing 3 games in the span of 2 weeks. And the last 2 games that this team has played in the last 2 weeks were the Panthers, where they put up 33, and the Commanders, where they put up 45. They're outscoring their opponents. Last week, in 1 week, they put up 78 points to 20. 78 points to 20. That was that Sam Howell offense. So we're having problems against, good defenses, right? It's been seen. Are we going to be putting up 10 points and this Cowboys team is going to fucking rock us because we only have 4 days to prepare, and these guys have been just running over teams that aren't good? If you really think about it, we're not the Giants, we're not the Panthers, and we're not the Commanders. We beat all those teams. We barely beat the Commanders, but we pretty handedly beat the Panthers and the Giants. And the main reason we didn't barely beat the Commanders was because we can't get our shit together. And there's this quote, Pete Carroll, he said earlier today, during his Friday presser, quote, "I want to make sure we're maximizing the personalities and make sure that we're using the guys as well as we can use them. Make sure that we're choosing the best routes for the guys. We have unique talents, and we've got to make sure that we're maximizing that. I feel like we're not. I feel like we're not seeing stuff." And that could mean a whole bunch, but it's stating the obvious. I talked about it last week on Tell the Truth Monday, that when the biggest problem we had when we went up against the Rams was we fell apart because our fundamentals weren't sound, and they came back and they beat us. And because our fundamentals weren't sound, we kept giving the Rams opportunities. And because of that, we needed to get our fundamentals sound, and I hope that the Rams game was a wake-up call and give us an opportunity to go into that 49ers game with our fundamentals being practiced. Because that was the only thing that we could practice that week was let's try to get our fundamentals better. Hey, the Rams just beat us because our fundamentals fucking sucked. Maybe there was something to that. And it didn't show up, except on defense. We saw them tackling better, and believe it or not, I know that Christian McCaffrey was making guys miss, but that's Christian McCaffrey. But when they were tackling, they were wrapping up around the thighs, and they were dropping their hip, and they were throwing the guys back with their body weight. It was much better than it was against the Rams and against other teams. So I saw progress, but we have seen zero, if not negative progress from the offense like every week this year. And you can't say, well, Kenneth Walker's gone, because they didn't have anything going when Kenneth Walker was in there. And so when we have to go against this team, Pollard is not having he's their running back, the Cowboys running back who replaced Ezekiel Elliott. He's not having this amazing year because Dakota is just throwing the ball all over the goddamn field. And I don't think he's running all over, but as you can see, it's just smothering defense. I think they're getting a bunch of pick sixes. What's his name? Tay Diggs, their cornerback, is getting a bunch of pick sixes. And so if Waldron doesn't stop calling that out route, that we got another pick, the 49ers got a pick on that, that I keep saying that's the route that turns quarterbacks into Matt Schaub. If Geno throws the Matt Schaub route and it actually gets pick sixed this time, not just picked off, things might not look so good for Geno Smith. He's probably competing his ass off to save his season so he can get that $31 million contract if the Seahawks decide to keep him. But because of the way the season's going, they're probably not going to pick up his contract no matter how good he plays. But maybe he can get signed somewhere else. I'm rooting for Geno. I'm worried about this Cowboys game because it feels like the coaches have been saying the same thing all year. Well, we got to run the ball more. Well, we got to get the guys into better routes, and we got to put them in situations where they can succeed. Okay. Well, I know you can't literally tell us, during the presser how you plan on doing that. I know you're not literally going to do that, Pete Carroll, but we've seen on tape that you haven't changed your methods. So are we going to see a change this week? Because I don't think the Seahawks really had time to, unless they decided, spend the rest of the early week after we just got our asses kicked by the 49ers with your families. I mean, probably. But I imagine a lot of them were like, we're going to have to try to do Thanksgiving another time. I'm sorry, guys. This is a weird NFL schedule this year. And then these Cowboys players, the 45-10, that energy might be different. But they also need to catch up to the Eagles, who are just constantly winning. So the Cowboys need this win. They need to secure the win so that they can maintain. I mean, if they beat us, it gives them wild card seeding for one. But for two, it also gives them an opportunity to catch up to the Eagles, because if they can beat us and then beat the Eagles, it's a good opportunity for them to maybe jump across everybody up towards the first seed, because they have to play the Commanders again as well towards the end of the season. So you never know what happens. Man, their end of season is brutal. They have to play us, the Eagles, the Bills, the Dolphins, the Lions, and then the Commanders. That is pretty fucking brutal. Let's go to our schedule really quick. Like I said, we played the Rams, and then within a week we played the 49ers, and then before it's even reached the following Sunday, we're playing the Cowboys. And then a week later, finally we get a full week, we play the 49ers. I think I said that right. Thursday we play the Cowboys, then we played 49ers. I can never tell if I said a word wrong, and now I'm getting anxious about it. Shit happens. The reason I want to point this out is how many days of rest did we get as the Seahawks? Likewise, how many days of rest did the Cowboys get? Oh, we got the same amount of days of rest. So that makes it easy. We don't need to count as much. We get 0 days of rest this week. And then this is a full week. So we get the normal 2 days of rest because it's a 7-day week. If it was a build up to Sunday, they would have an extra, instead of 2 days of rest, Monday and Tuesday, you go back to work on Wednesday and then get ready for your Sunday game. Since it's Thursday, you don't get as much rest. But because we played a Thursday game, we still get those 2 days of rest. So if this was instead a Sunday game versus the Cowboys, we would have Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, so it would be 5 days of rest. That's why the trade-off for having I guess that'd be 4 days of rest. Something like that. Yes. The trade-off is that your team, you have to play crunch time on Thursday, but then you get like a mini bye. And this removes the mini bye we would get before we would play the 49ers. So we let me rephrase that. I'm sorry. There's so many things I'm focused on. We don't get the mini bye after the 49ers game going into the Cowboys game, but we get the mini bye going into the 49ers game on Sunday. And when you look at the 49ers schedule, they played the Buccaneers, then they played us, so they get 4 weeks. But then they're playing on Sunday, so they experience their mini bye, which is 4 days instead of the normal 2. So then when they play us, they will have the normal 2 days where we will have 4 days of rest. Oh, I got it out. Oh my God. Do you get it? Are you vibing with me now? So my question is, are we at a disadvantage because we have to play the Cowboys immediately, but the Cowboys also have to play us immediately because we both played on Thursday, and therefore by doing this, we get an extra 2-day advantage on the 49ers? Or do the 49ers have an advantage because they immediately get to go into a normal schedule which rests their bodies? And so that when they play us in 2 weeks, they will have established going back into a normal rhythm. That's what I'm trying to get at. And it's a long way to go around it. And likewise with the Eagles. The Eagles, they play Monday Night Football, not Sunday. They played Monday Night Football, not Sunday. So then when they played on against the Bills on Sunday, they had a shorter week, so they only had 1 day of rest to prepare. But then when they come in on Sunday against the 49ers, who, let's hope that the Eagles beat the 49ers, right? They'll have 2 days of rest. So it's like it's the same type of energy and the same type of trade-off. It's even, right? Whereas when we go up against the 49ers in a couple weeks, the energy, the amount of rest that we will have, is it even? Because is it tilted to our side because we have a 4-day rest period before we go into this 49ers game? Or are we at a disadvantage for multiple reasons? Because we're going up against a Cowboys team with no rest, and it's going to be too taxing on our body, and we're going to break down before we have a chance to even get to this 49ers game. I'm very curious. And this goes for the Cowboys too, because they're competing with the Eagles. And so if they need to beat us, we need to beat them. The 49ers are the head of their division. The Eagles are ahead of our division. We're both basically in the same situation, except that Cowboys offense is rolling, and it's making their defense just need to play defense and do their thing. Our offense is not rolling, period. And we're continuously repeating the same errors over and over again. And it's gotta stop. My dog is upset over something. I'm not quite sure. I think I had some show notes for today. Oh. Let's see. My dog just completely derailed my thought. I want to talk about the panic button. A lot of fans seem to be hitting the panic button because of that 49ers game. Because we got punched in the mouth a lot. We got punched in the mouth so much it looks like we got herpes. That's how bad that was. You know, it's all split around. It's bad. It's bad. But you know what makes that game so fascinating to me is it's not like our defense gave up. And that's a truth. I like to, on Tell the Truth Monday, I like to remind myself, like, oh yeah, this team isn't just a non-competitive mess. There are some things that we need to work on. Woolen needs to learn how to tackle. Bobby Wagner, I don't know if he can cover guys one-on-one anymore. That might be a truth. Sometimes he gets himself in good position, but I don't know if he can do it in man. That might be a truth. Jamal Adams looks great, except when he's covering tight ends. That never really got fixed. Him being a guy in man coverage might be overrated, and I think that's a truth. Him in zone, good. That's a truth. Witherspoon is fantastic. Would like to see him continue to grow. That's a truth. There's this concept that the defense is probably going to be rebuilt after this year. And people are talking like they're gonna throw half the roster away. A lot of these guys, I think, are on prove it deals. So I think the reason I don't like the way it's being said is it's being said like, well, the house is rotten. We need to get rid of the house. I think it's more of we have a lot of players here with talent, some without talent. Next year when we get into the season, because of the way contracts are working out, some guys will leave. Some guys will bring in because we want to move into a different direction. This player might be a little old, so we'll let him go because we can upgrade him. It won't be a, wow, Cody Barton's out there and he can't play football situation. I think all of our starters can play pretty good football. I don't think our scheme is finished developing yet. It's kind of like how in 2012, yeah, we had Chris Clemens and we had Red Bryant on the other side, but we didn't have enough pass rushers. I don't think we have a war daddy in the middle. I think we need a true blue war daddy in the middle, and that's not Williams. We need somebody who's just gonna maul some human beings in the middle. And you know, you got to find that guy. and you can't necessarily draft him. And that's not a Jalen Carter. Jalen Carter is not a war daddy, to be clear. So I just need, you need to be able to have somebody be able to set the hash so that the rest of the team can do what they need to do. And when you look at this running game against San Francisco, and then when you got Dallas coming in, we have some good stout pass rushers, and we have some good gap players. But when you have somebody that's just going to smash mouth you, you're not playing a gap. You're not playing a gap. You need somebody who can be, bigger, meaner, and I'm going to, human you into the ground. And I don't think we have that human being on the roster right now. Not to say that like Reed and Jones and company don't have that in them. It's a weight class thing. We don't have somebody of that weight class that Mike Tyson going up against pork and beans, butter beans, whatever his name was. It'd be an interesting fight. But the weight class might not make it such a good thing for Mike Tyson, just because could he reach somebody of that giant size and mass? Like, could his arms even get there? And if they did, would it be able to actually harm him? And so when you have somebody like Lindvald Joseph playing at defensive tackle, or Ndamukong Suh playing at defensive tackle, it can just set everything up for the rest of your defensive tackles to work off of. And if you pair that up with Reed and Jones and Williams, that D-line will be fucking humming. But it's just really hard to find a war daddy. And people see them in different ways. That's not a war daddy. Well, I see a war daddy as the Mountain from a Game of Thrones. He's the big man. The big man that gets in the way that, well, we can't run at him. We have to run around him, or maybe the running back can slide under his legs, because you're not going to knock him over. He's just there, right? So maybe you can box him off, but at the very least, he's going to take up like 3 spots on the defensive line, because he's the war daddy. That's what I want. And I think it would help against really good rushing attacks, and possibly against mobile quarterbacks. Just take up a bunch of space. I don't know if that's a truth. That's just me going down a tangent. A truth is that our defensive pass rushers are good. But we're not doing a good enough job setting up the second level for success tackling. And I don't know if that's because we're being manhandled at the line, or if we're being outweighed on the line. So if we go up against Pollard, and we're going up against Zach Martin on right tackle, and I don't know if Tyron Smith is still at left tackle. I know Frederick is gone. I'll have to look at the rest of their offensive line later. Cowboys always have a really, really good offensive line, just all pro across the board. So they're going to come, and this is going to be a challenge, because their offensive line should be better than the 49ers offensive line. And I think a 49er fan would probably agree with me when I say that. I'm not saying that the 49ers line is bad. I think they're really good. I think 49ers fans would say our line sucks. They would say that the 49ers line sucks. I think the 49ers line is great. It's a work in progress. But when you look at this Cowboys line, that's a good offensive line. That's a damn good offensive line. And Dakota is just doing work. And if Pollard ends up just running all over us, which he hasn't really been running over teams this year. He's just kind of been like the fifth note, just in the background, because everything else has been going so well. if Dakota ends up just throwing the ball all over us because we can't stop Pollard, it's going to be one of those 45-10 games. We got to get our offense together. And for the sake of our defense, because our defense has got to be wiped out. Here's a truth. And there was a moment in the start of the first quarter, the first half of that 49ers game, where our offense had the ball for like 5 minutes and the 49ers had the ball for over 17 minutes. That's the truth. Keep our defense off the field against the Cowboys, por favor. I do not want Pollard and Dakota and the rest of that Cowboys offensive front just mauling us all game long, because we don't need injuries on our defense. How about we actually do something on offense? And easier said than done. Yeah, they got Micah Parsons and they got Diggs out there. And luckily for us, Sean Lee is not in the league anymore, I don't think. I feel like that man was injured the entire time, but people hyped him up because he was a Cowboy. Dan Quinn is this defensive coordinator. This game might suck. This game might suck really hard, because it doesn't seem like our coaches have gotten our offense to respond to coaching. Our defense has responded to coaching, but they're being let down by the offense, because you can only tackle really well for like so many minutes in a game before, it's like really hard to play defense. And on offense, if you're not doing anything at all, because you're not establishing rhythm, because you're not getting third downs, because you keep throwing the ball out of bounds or not completing passes, so the clock isn't even running. And your defense is just gassed. You might enter halftime like, oh yeah, we're winning 13-10. And then like, how the hell did we lose 16-34? That math made sense. I'm sure it did. Yes, it did. It's just because you're not playing the fundamentals of football. And we've talked enough about Shane Waldron, to be honest. We've talked enough about Pete Carroll. I want to talk about the Cowboys. That's a truth. This was a long weekend. And when I said I was going to talk about the fans a bit, there was a lot of everything this week from the fans, understandably. And a lot of it was reasonable. And I think that what's interesting is that we got a lot of everything from the fans, but we got a lot of nothing from the Seahawks. We got these Pete Carroll pressers and interviews, and it was, well, we got to do this, we got to do that. He was hitting the buzzwords, right? But those buzzwords weren't hitting home this week. At least they weren't hitting home for me. And sometimes I'm like, oh yeah, he's hitting a buzzword. But this time it felt like he's just saying the thing. And like he's not trying to charge up the media, but like he's saying it to the media and he knows that the media is not hearing him anymore. Kind of like last year with Russell Wilson. There was a point where Russell was saying, "Let's go Broncos." And then he just like got quiet while saying it, and he realized, I need to stop saying this every presser. This isn't vibing anymore. Oh no, wait, it wasn't "Let's go Broncos," it was "Let's ride." And then eventually he's just like, "Let's ride." And then it was the saddest "Let's ride" ever. And some of these answers from Pete Carroll, it's like, well, yeah, we gotta get our guys in positions to succeed. He's just, hey Siri, how do we help our guys? You can help your guys by putting them in positions to succeed. Thanks, Pete. Thanks a lot. And it also is like, well, what do you want him to say? I get that. And when you look at like Shane Waldron's presser, he just looks like somebody's accountant. I don't know. It doesn't look like he should be coaching football. I don't understand how a sport that is filled with all these extremely athletic humans, and we could talk about melanin levels later, but let's just stick to their athletic ability, their ability to play the game and get snaps. I don't understand how people who are physically super athletic have offensive play callers who are built like I am. You know? Like when I see Clint Hurt and he's like, I'm a football coach. I'm like, I believe you. Sir, I absolutely believe you. You are gigantic. You punch a defensive lineman and you hold them at place. I totally get it. When Tom Cable's like, I'm a football coach, I believe him. I absolutely believe it. When Pete Carroll's like, I played safety, and I believe him. You see him running around there and right. He earns it. When Shane Waldron's out there play calling, I'm like, I don't fucking, what? I don't get it. I don't get it. And I had kind of the same vibes a bit with Darrell Bevell. I'm like, you just look like some nerd on the computer that was found. I mean, I know, like, not every coach has played football. Bill Belichick didn't play football. He was a scout the entire time. So that doesn't necessarily dictate what a good coach is. What I'm saying is, why is it that there are so many coaches that seem to be, not former players, or didn't appear to be like players that can like physically relate to the specimens on the field whatsoever? And so you might be an offensive play caller, but if you can't relate to the pitching, the pacing of what it's like to be on the NFL field, because you've physically never played a football game. I don't know if he's ever played football games, right? I'm just speculating because he looks like a Diary of a Wimpy Kid. and I would much rather have an offensive play caller who maybe, has played tight end and is like, yeah, I know how to fucking block this thing. Come on, guys, and we'll be coaching. I don't see Shane Waldron coaching on the sideline. I see him with his little flip chart covering his mouth. So he's the play caller, right? But then he's not good at calling plays. Or maybe he's good at designing plays, but he's not good at calling the plays in sequence. And we've been falling apart all year. We started falling apart at the second half of last year. There's a truth. So if we want to talk about how good Geno Smith was last year, we also bring up like, oh yeah, but he didn't have a good second half of last year. It could be because people started finding out Shane Waldron's tendencies as a coordinator now that he had a stable quarterback for a long period of time instead of having a quarterback with a busted finger. So, maybe the problem is Shane Waldron, a guy who doesn't seem to call good plays in order. Pete Carroll keeps saying, well, we need to put our players in good positions. And people have been upset, fans have been upset about the fade route to DK. Well, that is putting DK in a good position, right? He's good at fade routes and he's fast and long. And when you throw a fade route, whether or not it's completed or not, you move a safety over the top. So that's technically putting not just DK in a good position, but it puts JSN and the tight end in a good position. But then he's not taking advantage of the tight end slots. So he's throwing the fades and stuff, but then he's not He's not teeing off of it, whatever he's doing. Or at least it never appears like he is. And they say, well, we never have enough numbers to run the ball. Well, that's bullshit, because you could say we never have enough numbers to pass the ball. It's a deliberate choice. You can choose to run the ball. You can choose just like you can choose to pass the ball. And when we run the ball, we're really damn good at it. The problem is you keep passing the ball and putting us in bad situations. Because if suddenly you throw on 1st and 10 and it's incomplete, and then you throw a screen and it's now 3rd and 12, you might set your team up for failure, Shane Waldron. And I just feel like he doesn't know how to sequence plays, and he doesn't know how to use the run game, and specifically the offensive line. Half of your team minus the quarterback is offensive linemen. And then oftentimes you keep players in there to help block. So most of your team is based around blocking. And he focuses so much on taking shots to the skill players, but your most important players are your offensive linemen. And I don't feel like he uses them. I feel like he just is so excited about route trees. And then when you look at the route trees, they're not that creative. The orbitals, yeah, now we can see if it's man or its zone. Tight ends have been going into different spots for years, so you can tell if it's man or zone. You don't need to have your 4th wide receiver out there completely wasting his legs running orbitals. It is a waste of time. And so we've seen these all year. And so I would like on Tell the Truth Monday for Pete Carroll to tell the truth. As in, what is the actual identity on the offense? Is it Pete Carroll's identity, or is it Shane Waldron's identity? And if it's Shane Waldron's identity, what the fuck is that identity? Because I have yet to see one of any common sense. I do understand what I'm looking at, which is he is spreading the field around. He's throwing the fade over there to get the safety over to open the thing to JSN. But he's then not taking any advantages that come off of that. And then there's no third counter. He's not running any run plays to tee up the fade or anything else. So I don't know what his plan is. And we see against the 49ers that when you go up against a plan that is by design, what's the word I'm looking for? One-dimensional. His system is by design one-dimensional. And so if you go up a system that's one-dimensional and you have a good defense, you're going to make our team so one-dimensional that we can't move the ball. And so when Waldron is going against this Cowboys team that is also really good on defense, can he please quit thinking one-dimensionally when play calling and think three-dimensionally? He's got the running backs. He's got the tight end / halfback / fullbacks. He's got the great he has literally every weapon he could want. Abe Lucas might even be coming back. It sounds like he's good to go. But he just doesn't know how to call plays. It's embarrassing. Because on defense, we're competing and we're losing by all these points because our offense doesn't know how to compete. Our players know how to compete, but our play callers don't know how to compete. And I think it's because we just got some Winnie the Pooh type dude calling fucking plays. I want a fucking baller calling plays on offense. I don't know. I don't care where Pete Carroll finds him. The Lions, their defense of coordinators, they want to chew your kneecaps off. Give me an offensive coordinator that wants to break your kneecaps off. Is that too much to ask? And I don't care if it's in the passing game anymore. That's a whole different discussion. You should know me by now. I prefer the Kyle Shanahan right in between the fucking hash marks. We're going to crunch you and force you all in, and then we're going to tee off of that. If we truly want to go to this Andy Reid style, pass the ball around, Sean McVay style, let's do it. But at the very least, let's do it in a way that makes sense. And I don't think he knows how to sequence plays off of his plays. And that's going to leave your offense one-dimensional and shut you down. And that's the truth. That's the end of First Kick Seahawks today. Thank you so much for bearing with me as I had streaming problems earlier today. Please like and subscribe. It would really appreciate. I would really appreciate it. It would help out the channel. I see some of you have already been liking, and that would be. I would just like to say thank you. I really appreciate the recent burst of attention and love that I've been receiving from the community. So thank you so much. I will see you probably tomorrow as we prepare for game planning for the Cowboys. Be well, and go Hawks.